A couple of weeks ago at the Yellow Night, Jessica asked me how my life was, and my dad been in and out of my life since I was 4 years old. And last month he just started coming into me and my brother's life, and ever since then my life has been pretty amazing. I miss my dad so much, and I'm so happy he's in my life now.
I feel like if I would have had something like the Cleft when I was younger, where I could see people who are interested in investing their lives into mine, or interested in hearing my story, or interested in helping me out. And if I would have had something like that, I feel like maybe it would have made things a lot different for me. Maybe I wouldn't have done some of the things I did. I don't know. But I look at that and I look at these kids and I hear some of their stories and I'm just like, man, I want to be there for you. I want to be that thing that I never had.
When I was little, I wasn't really with my mom and dad. I actually went to a foster home, and ever since then I lived with my grandma. And when I was 11, I moved with my mom and dad, and ever since then I've just been emotional about everything. And the Cleft has helped me a lot by just being able to talk to somebody and to actually feel like I actually have family. And Mindy helps me a lot with struggles that I go through with my life, just everything. It doesn't even have to involve with the Cleft. She's just always there for me.
It's kind of funny when you think back on moments in your life that define you and change you. You usually don't remember the sermon that happened or the song that happened or an illustration, but you just remember that simple moment of you and God, or that person praying with you and helping you fight through what you're going through. And so I think it's really cool to be able to make those connections with students at the Cleft outside of just playing basketball with them. There's intentions that we're creating moments like that where we can talk with them and we can pray with them, and we can see what those real deep-rooted issues are.
It's having a good time during Friday, when there's nothing else to do, and there's awesome people here. You can make new friends. You can meet awesome workers here that help,
I was raised by a single mom. My parents were divorced when I was younger. And there were a lot of times in my life where I felt like I was the only one who was going through that. No one else that I knew had divorced parents.
So I really haven't had a dad figure in my life because of the divorce and everything. So I was depending on my brother, and then drama started in the family, and then so I really don't talk to my brother. I don't get to see my niece and nephew, and so many people has died in my family, so many close people, grandmas and everything. My mom has a bad kidney, and it's 78% gone, and it's just really hard because you have nobody there. All my family's either dead or we don't talk to, and then my mom, she's almost her kidney's failing, so honestly I have nowhere to go besides my dad's, and he's really strict and he doesn't even care really.
One thing that was always constant in my life was my mom and dad, and my dad was always there for me and to accept me no matter when I messed up or whatever happened to me. And when I look at a lot of these kids, I see them without fathers. So they're going through a real rough time. Where I went through that rough time, I had my dad to be there to pick me up. These kids don't have their fathers. And I feel like at the Cleft, as men and women, that we can be there for these kids, be their fathers that they don't have, just to give them somebody to hang out with and talk to. So my hope is that we can be an encouragement to the students in that way.
Gets me off the streets from doing drugs and drinking and partying. They feel like family to me, and yeah, I can tell them anything.
We had used the phrase of kind of where the Cleft was at the time and season, that we're winning with what we're doing, just because we were talking about how intentional we're being, from what our leaders are doing to the thesis talks that we're having to every single event that we have. And so we were talking about how we're keeping kids off the street. We're pulling them out of the partying and the drugs that they were doing before. And so with that, we're truly winning.
The Cleft means a lot to me because it's a safe place to go without drugs and violence.
And it tells you about God. They started it for to like start like a good organization that helps people. And
there was a mom that I got to talk to the other night at the Cleft, and she was just explaining to me that she's really protective over her son and that she wants to make sure that he's hanging out in a good place, because just places that their family has been and gone through, they've had a tough life. And so she just explained that once she stepped foot into the Cleft and she started talking to us and talking to some of the leaders, that she could just tell that it was a good place and a safe place for him to be, and she wanted him to be there. She was, asking her son, do you want to come back next time? Do you want to come back? And, he was like, yeah, I guess, like, it'll be fun. And she's like, well, I'll see you next time. And she ended up just opening up about, different things that she had gone through and stuff, and it was cool not only to relate with her son and the other students there, but with her as well.
I like hanging with all my friends and knowing that people care about me here.
I enjoy coming to the Cleft every Friday because there's people here that care about you, not what like you wear or what you look like. They actually care about you.
We actually had a chance to talk with some of the girls, and they were saying, like one girl, she was like, my mom was a prostitute. I don't even know who my dad is. And I can't relate to that personally, but what I could do is I was able to look at her and I was able to say, you know what, you don't have to be a prostitute just because your mom was. You're better than that. God has a purpose for you, and He has a plan for your life, and you don't have to follow in the footsteps and make the same mistakes that your parents made. And just being able to say that to her, I felt like I was living in my purpose at that moment. Like, this is what God has put me on this planet for, is to tell other people that, you know what, you don't have to follow the same mistakes of the past, or you can let go of things and you can move forward because God has a destiny and a plan for you.
I started talking to one of the kids at the Cleft, and there were some things that he just wanted to talk about. I mean, it wasn't even necessarily anything super intense, but he was kind of at a point where he didn't feel like he had anybody else to talk to.
And I think at the Cleft, that's huge. I mean, you see these kids, they hide it a lot, or they try to hide it, but there's a lot going on. If we can be a presence, somebody to talk to share with them, to help them.
That's my hope and dream for the Cleft for the future, is just to invest in these students' lives outside of Friday nights and build relationships with them, as well as just love on them.
What's incredible about this thing called the Cleft is that we get to be a part of a story that's bigger than any one individual. And oftentimes people will say, Nathan, you have a great ministry, or the Cleft is doing great things, and your leaders are doing awesome things, but what it really comes down to are 4 words, and that's, this is God's thing. And at the end of the day, it takes the pressure off of us. It takes the pressure off of our budget. It takes the pressure off of our leaders. It takes the pressure off of how good or bad a Friday night goes, or how great the talk goes that night, or how terrible the talk goes that night. And God is carrying the weight of the Cleft. And it's not Nathan's ministry. It's not the ministry of a board of directors. It's not the ministry of a lead staff. It's not the ministry of a volunteer. It's the ministry that God is carrying out in our community.